I'm Scott Trout, CEO of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. We help men deal with the life changes triggered by divorce, such as child custody and property division, among many others. But life changes also occur after divorce. These changes can make parts of your existing court order irrelevant or harder to follow. If you feel a modification to your court orders might be necessary, talk to us at Cordell & Cordell. We're a partner men can count on.
Contact CordellCordell.com, 1065 East Hillsdale Boulevard, Suite 310, Foster City, California, 94404.
Do it, Brad.
You're listening to The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
I'm really kind of tired of technology, to be quite honest.
Why? What'd you do today?
I have this stupid Apple Watch that it takes like 4 days for it to die, and I've been plugging it in every day. Come to find out, it must not have just been plugged into the wall or something, because now it died today, and today's like the day I needed it because my schedule was crazy.
Man, I don't know. Here's the thing. Why I don't wear watches. I can't. I don't like, by the way, that's Brad Nolan talking, and first, and I'm Brian Moote. Brad, he usually intros everybody, but he was too wrapped up in technology today. I don't like things, like I think this is a genetic thing amongst the men in my family, but none of the men in my family like things on their hands or wrists, like wedding rings included. I used to get in so much trouble when I was married for having my wedding ring off. It just bothered me. I don't like things on my hands. Yeah. I don't like washing my hands. I don't like the water underneath it. All that stuff. I used to get in trouble all the time. I'd send a selfie from the studio to my ex-wife, like, "Hey, we got breakfast sandwiches in the studio." She'd be like, "Where's your wedding ring?" I'm like, "Oh no, it's on the counter. Look, it's in the picture on the counter." I'm like, "That's even worse." I'm like, God, it's the worst.
She had a terrible British accent.
Oh man. Well, you know what? You know what? Yeah, I'm more of an Irish accent fan, but that's because of a family thing. All my grandparents would have been so furious at me for marrying a British person. They're like, we tried so hard to get rid of those people, and here you go, bringing a spy back into our life. Which, side note, is why I'm so excited about the royal wedding with Meghan Markle marrying in, because I feel like this is phase one of our American strategy to infiltrate Kensington Palace and get back, take some territory back from them.
The dilution of the royal family, we're just weeding away at it.
And we couldn't have sent a better human being, an African American woman. It's I almost feel like Prince Harry's on our side with this. He's like, you know what? We've been screwing everybody.
I'm really white.
I'm so white, I'm redhead. I am the whitest it gets. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to marry anybody from the royal family. I'm finding an American black woman who's an actor, and we're going to bring her ass over here.
And by the way, we're going to end her career. She can no longer take selfies. She can no longer paint her nails. She can no longer do her own hair. She cannot do anything in public. What a terrible job.
I mean, and also here's the other part: the royal family doesn't even really do a lot.
They do nothing.
They reach out and they do fundraising and they make public appearances. But in terms of the laws of London, how pissed would you be if you were someone publicly elected and you're like, I do more for this country than let's watch their wedding. No one gave a crap about mine at a courthouse. It's garbage.
It's the Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan. Travel, whether it would be to the royal wedding or to, Los Angeles from Atlanta, is always a little bit tricky.
It was the worst, man.
And I have some advice for you coming up, but Go ahead. Tell your scary travel story.
So this past weekend, I went out to Atlanta. Had to work on some stuff in with my HOA, fixing some stuff at the house. Which at some point I'm just going to put a big inflatable middle finger on the roof of my townhouse because this HOA, and you know what's funny? They're pissing off my girlfriend Jessica, which is even worse because she's the real estate agent who sold me the house, and her real estate, the company she works for, I don't know if you heard of them, Sotheby's International. They're kind of a big deal. Their attorneys are the biggest attorneys in Atlanta. They almost laughed at the fact that they're like, "Whoa, Jess, townhouse, huh?" And she's like, "This is my boyfriend." I know, do me a favor, but
baby townhouse,
a little townhouse. Where's the commas in this? Hey, easy, buddy. I'm on a budget right now. So they're messing with a woman and pissing her off, and she's got the best attorneys in the business. like all over, like on her side. So at some point in time, they're going to lose every battle they're in. I'm just trying to like play negotiator on those things and be like, hey, you know what? No, it's a big deal. No. Listen, I can fix the trim. I'll fix the trim. Like, don't worry about them finding us for dog poop in the backyard. I sent them a letter saying we cleaned it up, and till next time.
We should be clear about this. This is not a janky townhouse.
No.
This is a beautiful townhouse.
3 stories, 4 bedroom.
There's nothing wrong with the trim.
There's not, listen, the neighborhood itself is so like aesthetically perfect that it feels like we're on the Truman Show. Like I can't leave the neighborhood. I'm there. I walk out, there's no one there, and stuff. She's battling with everybody. So I fly to Atlanta for that, and then my former show, The Burt Show, is Burt Weiss's birthday. He missed his birthday, so they did like a 1 month later birthday party.
Happy birthday, Burt.
It was super fun, man. And the cool thing for me is that when I left Atlanta, like I love all those people. I love the sales folks, like the people on the on-air staff, and it was everybody. Like everyone from Burt's Big Adventure, Burt Show, Cumulus, Q100, like all these people that I haven't seen since I left Atlanta. And so it was good for me to see everybody. We were having, clearly everyone was drunk, and everyone's like, "How's Los Angeles? You look different." I'm like, I'm not. Yeah, a little. I feel a little bit fatter right now. I feel bloated. I also hurt my back putting Burt on my shoulders to play volleyball, which he's 5'6" and I'm 6'4", so we were trying to come up with a game-changing way to play volleyball, beach volleyball against non-athletes, which is perfect. We blocked every serve.
Picture proof of this insanity is up at, was it Moote Comedy on Instagram?
Moote Comedy. Yeah. And so here's the problem. It was kind of a last-minute trip to go out there, and I sometimes revert to my road comedy instincts where I'm just going for the cheapest instead of just the most efficient. So I booked a flight home with a layover in Houston, and I was leaving at 5:30. It was going to get me back in here to Los Angeles about 8, and I was like, that's early enough. I'll go home, get a good night of sleep, have a good show on Monday. Kept it pretty chill on Sunday, no day drinking. So I was doing everything right. I get to the airport, and I started like making jokes about the Atlanta weather because it was starting to rain earlier, like when we were on our way to the airport, and the day before it had been 91 degrees, and then a month ago I got an email from my HOA saying, make sure you leave your water running a little bit like a trickle because pipes might freeze. It's going to be
Jesus.
Yeah, so in a span of a month, it went from 28 degrees to 91 with humidity and thunder showers. I'm like, this is funny. So then I get on the airplane and I fall asleep on the runway. And then I wake up an hour later, still on the runway, and I think, oh, damn, you just slept through the entire flight to Houston. And I'm like, this is perfect because the captain's talking, and he goes like, we're going to be going back to the gate. I'm like, back is not the word you want to hear there. You want to hear like,
Yeah, we'll be at the gate.
Yeah, we're at the gate, not back to, and what are you talking about? So we go back to the gate because apparently there was thunder showers and they had a ground stoppage and there was lightning and they said that it had like tornado conditions. So we go back, they deplane us, and I'm looking,
which is always a sketchy moment anyway,
right?
Because they're like, this is so bad that we're going to let you get off the plane for a minute,
right? They're like, we're not going to leave here till 8 o'clock. So now I'm talking to Brad, I'm talking to everybody. I'm looking at my connecting flight in Houston, and I'm going, there's no way I'm going to make this. And I talked to a United Air person who was at the bar drinking with me, and they're like, listen, they won't tell you if they'll rebook you until you get on that plane the second time. Until you're on the plane, United won't rebook you, which is garbage because Delta will rebook you whenever they know you're not going to make your connection.
That's a terrible policy.
I'm not trying to get stuck in Houston. I don't know anybody in Houston. And so I'm waiting to get on the plane. We decided like it'd be the best for me just to get on the plane. I'll make it back to LA for the radio show on Monday morning. I get on the plane, and all of a sudden I start seeing the captain like starts talking to the flight attendant. I'm like, that's never good. He came out of the cockpit. He gets on the line and he goes, here you go. You guys, oh God, you guys, you don't want to hear from me. Probably. Probably not a good sign. And it's not. Instead of leaving at 8:50, now we're going to leave at 10:50. And you know what? I talked to ground control and everybody, and we're just going to leave the gate open. And if you want to get off the plane, you can get off the plane. Just scan your ticket when you get back on. And I'm like, see you later, everybody. I'm out of here. I'm staying in Atlanta tonight. Mind you, they made me check my bag, so my bag ended up in L.A. via Denver, then San Francisco, then Atlanta, or then to L.A. the next day.
That's so fascinating because you weren't going to any of those places anyway.
No. But the greatest thing is I thought to myself, if I wanted to murder somebody in Atlanta, I have a foolproof alibi. They never registered me getting off the plane, so they thought I went to Houston. I could have murdered somebody, driven to Houston, and been like, I didn't kill that person. Officer, I was in Houston. And United Airlines would have been like, we know he was in Houston for a fact. He was on our flight to Houston.
It would have been funny if, like, you know how you get those surveys and emails like, tell us about your flight. How was it to Houston? That would be a funny moment.
I did get that email, and you're right. I'm going to reply to them, thanks for the murder alibi, in case I needed it.
Brad Nolan is a dad and a Harley rider. Brian Moote is scared of commitment and wears a seatbelt. The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
Alleged Harley rider. Still never seen him ride the bike.
I live and work within a block of myself, so it just sits there and I start it once in a while. What's up? My name is Brad Nolan, at Brad Nolan on the Twitter and the Instagram and all that stuff. And,
I'm Brian Moote. Moote Comedy, except for on Twitter, Moote Points, because I had to.
If you're just tuning in for some reason because you don't know how to operate a podcast,
well, maybe you fast-forwarded because you're just annoyed.
You're annoyed. Brian had some crazy travel trouble with plane tickets and layovers and all this stuff. And it stems from the fact that Brian uses a service called Skiplagged, which I have come to love as well.
Oh, man, it's a game changer.
Yeah, it really does change the way you travel, but it's also, when you have responsibilities on a Monday, okay, and you're going to use this kind of cheapskate way of getting around the system on a Sunday.
Well, so Skiplagged will let you it'll tell you if you want to go to Atlanta, it'll say like, hey, you can book this ticket to Orlando and then wink, wink, get off in Atlanta on your layover and just ignore all the Brian Moote, please go to gate C4. Be like, I'm out of here, bitch. Are you kidding me?
Which, by the way, I'm using that Skiplagged thing for a flight to Spokane. I'll be going to Spokane, everybody, but I'm not. I'm going to Seattle. I'm just getting off the plane.
Yeah. But you can't check a bag. If you check a bag, your bag ends up in Spokane.
Good to know.
You got to make sure that you got to, if they have you in like zone 3 or 4, you just got to have it on your phone and just board on zone 1, man.
In Brian's day life, like in his normal life, I wouldn't say I'm not Brian's boss or his manager, but I'm a manager of things that Brian is a part of.
Yeah, you're a manager of my radio show.
Yeah, and so when Brian texts me,
you're the radio overlord.
When Brian texts me at 8:00 on a Sunday night, I go,
Uh-oh. Oopsies.
So my advice to you is just, when it comes to things that deal with me specifically, anyone else is fine. Just go the adult route and just book the direct ticket. Guaranteed. No screw around.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't know your exact bottom line. I'm sure it's not that bad. You could have maybe sprung for the
I could have paid another $100
ticket.
Yeah, I mean, like, I could have paid $280 instead of $180 and flown direct, but I just thought to myself, hey, it's a Sunday. My girlfriend has to work. I'll just get out of there, middle of the afternoon. I got plenty of time on the layover. I looked at the layover. It said, like, an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. I was like, that's enough time on the layover, even for a slight delay. And yeah, I was a cheapskate on that one. But I was flying by myself, and now you're right. I'll do all direct flights when I always have to be somewhere. So I just got excited for a layover. I was like, what's up, Houston? I'm going to get a biscuit.
I do have one funny, captain story. You're talking about the captain comes on?
Yeah.
He's like, you don't want to hear from me. I once landed in Vegas, and it was like a hard landing, like boom. And he goes, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Las Vegas. We're here 10 minutes early, and the runway was 10 feet closer than I thought it was. Good morning.
That's funny.
And I was like, yes, dude.
I want to hear him come on and be like, stuck that one.
Nailed it.
Get a 9.5.
It's the Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan, and I have no clue what we're talking about next.
Smoke weed every day.
Which is only funny because I've never actually smoked weed.
You've never smoked weed?
No, I've never done a drug. Other than cigarettes and booze, I've never done a drug in my entire life.
What, is it out of fear? Because I haven't done any drugs but smoke weed, and I guess I would call alcohol a drug.
It is.
It's a drug.
Yeah.
But I've never done any of those, anything else, out of just sheer fear.
Here's the deal.
Fear of drugs.
In high school, I was a
nerd
in JROTC. Same difference, but with a uniform.
A nerd with a gun.
Yeah. I was in JROTC. You get drug tested. Right after high school, I then go to college where I'm in ROTC for the Army.
Oh,
you get drug tested a lot.
Nerd senior.
By the time I was done with all that nonsense, I was like, I'm done. I don't even care about it anymore. I don't even want to try it. Like, I could, it'd be a thing, but also I know that I have an abusive alcoholic father somewhere out there in the world, and I'm pretty sure that kind of addiction is hereditary.
Well, at least he didn't he's not very committed, so I don't know if you'd be that committed to your addiction. You'd be
Just once in a while.
You're non-committal.
It's fine. My dad was a jerk.
I'll ghost on heroin anytime I feel like it. Heroin's like he went out for cigarettes and never came back. I have the same genetics for addiction, which is why I try to take inventory of how many days I've drank in a row, and sometimes I'm not proud of that number. and I find,
what's the threshold? When do you become not so proud?
You know what it is? It's not even so much drinking daily, because I find that if I have a couple drinks, I don't. It's how many days I've been hungover.
Yeah,
those are the days, because a hangover is you drank to the point at which your body's like, we need it, give it back, why'd you take it away? And I told my New Year's resolution was not to be hungover on the radio for the whole year of 2018. We're going to try that in 2019.
Yeah, I was going to say, when did you... You're pretty good at hiding it. I think I can remember one day we're like, I'm just really tired, everybody. I was like, I can smell it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's been days like that, I'm sure. I think the days that I've been hungover here, I think there's only been 2 where I was out drinking, doing comedy stuff, but that was because I was trying to, on a weeknight, I was bonding with comedians way too late.
Yeah, and it becomes a mixture of tired and then also had drinks.
And the days that I feel like I tried to not be hungover and were day drinking days on the road, and then I came back and I was like, I didn't drink from 6 till when I woke up, and my body was like, we're still gonna punish you, bitch. You're in your 30s. That was a 20s thing for you, buddy. So I try to limit how many times I'm hungover. Now, when I was on my radio show in Atlanta, I would end up being hungover a lot on Mondays and a lot on Thursdays. And that was because Atlanta is the day drinking capital of the world.
Is that a real thing?
What? It is. Oh, day drinking brunch is a sport, man. I've never, and people in LA are like, oh, but brunch, let's go hit brunch. But that's trendy brunch where you go to these places
on
where
Sunday you have an orange juice.
You go to one of Lisa Vanderpump's restaurants and you get one drink for $18. Atlanta's like, oh, no, I know you didn't order bottomless. It's just bottomless. Sorry. We're going to do that to you.
We're going to keep filling this champagne bottle.
It's unbelievable, which also was responsible for me gaining about 15 pounds out there, because mimosas ain't short on sugar. And I think that on Mondays, I threw up on the air on a Monday morning. I was so hungover in Atlanta. I don't even know if I think I blamed food poisoning.
Because that's what you do. They have to.
I blame food poisoning, but I did, in my defense, I did eat. It was right after my wife left me. So let's not make this a sad story. She left, and so I was like, what, are you going to hit a sad sound? Yeah. It's like Calypso.
I know.
It was
the best I could do on a short notice.
So my wife left on a Friday, and that was a long time coming. We just weren't getting along, and she needed to go to New York, and I was like,
she needed to go.
Well, go. Eventually, she ended up going all the way. Right. But initially, she was just like, I'm going to go to New York, and I was like, you go to New York, I'll be here. But I was kind of drinking my face off that weekend.
Right.
I met up with some friends at the pool who were drinking sweet tea vodka. We finished a bottle of that, and then I went over across the street to the dive bar and finished a bunch of other drinks, and didn't realize I was that drunk until I couldn't remember how I got home. Hey,
I've been there. I was 23.
A testament to me, though, I've never been late to a radio show because of drinking. It's been because of other things. I'm always up.
Yeah, I will say you're one of the most responsible people when it comes to actually arriving at your commitments. Now, what happens after the arrival? Doesn't matter.
I'm here, man.
It's that you've showed up, and I can really appreciate somebody who just shows up.
You bring me in a wheelbarrow, I don't care. I didn't use my legs, but I'm still here.
I'd rather people show up and be sent home than never show up at all.
Well, I kind of got sent home, but I sent myself home. So I also mask being hungover really well for someone who's severely. I mean, we're talking drinking for 15 hours straight, and it's early in the morning, and as I was leaving, I just crushed an entire bowl of chicken pesto pasta, but heavy on the pesto. And at first it felt good. I get to work, and then about 20 minutes into our first segment, I turn green, and I get nauseous, and after the segment's over, Kristen and Bert are like, are you okay? And my face is sweating, and I run out of the studio, and I throw up in the bathroom in front of like a salesperson or something, like 6:20 was there early. Then I think I'm good. Drink of water. I'm like, sorry guys, I had some bad chicken pesto pasta this morning. Like there's so much pesto, I just like started getting nauseous from it. I just crushed it this morning. And everyone's like, we get it, right? Then about 8:20 happens again. And this time I'm throwing up as I'm leaving the studio, which then makes Kristen, my co-host, start throwing up. And she dry heaves and pees her pants. I throw up in the garbage can in front of the rock station, which is the most rock thing that's ever happened at 100.5 Southside and Bailey show in Atlanta. So I'm throwing up in the garbage can. I come back in. They send me home. Then I talk to Bert, my co-host, the next day, and he's like, hey, my girlfriend told me you guys were drinking together. How hungover were you versus food poisoning? And I'm like, it's a good 50-50 mix.
The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan. Here we have Brian Moote
This better not get me in trouble with my girlfriend.
and Brad Nolan.
No, my wife wants to flip the swinger switch.
Just two boys without man buns.
This is the voice of Brad Nolan.
To be fair, I would grow a man bun if I had the hairline for a man bun.
I wouldn't.
And my hair's too fine.
I feel like man buns now are like the thing of like conformity. Like, originally it's like, I'm a man with long hair and I put it up in a bun. I'm special. Now you're not. So
Right.
F you. I'll keep my hair short and I'll actually be a man.
I feel like when
Bun.
the Hemsworths started rocking man buns, was it Chris? No, it was the one Hemsworth that plays Thor. When he didn't do it he wasn't doing it because I do a man bun. He just had long blonde hair playing Thor.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, I'm going to put my hair up in a man bun. And everybody lost their minds. I was like, dude, everyone's got to cut that now. You got to cut it.
You can't compare to this.
I saw a dude, I'm not even kidding you. I saw a guy had a man bun. It was at a music festival in Atlanta, Music Midtown. He had a man bun. He looked like a smoke show with a man bun. Like I was like, dude, that guy's a pretty good looking dude. At some point in time, I guess he must have been getting hot or something, and we were behind him. He took it down. Homeboy had an entire bald spot. Like in like the back of his head, and I was like, what a brilliant disguise. The comb over should be dead. It should be called the bun over. Just because he looked like
genius.
Oh, and how sad are you if you're a woman who gets suckered by the man bun? I almost respected it as a ploy to draw like superficial women out who don't like bald guys.
Spiderweb.
Oh, because the first time you see a guy with long hair and a giant bald spot, that is a thing of disgustingness.
You're like, am I at Sturgis?
It looks like the Ice King on Game of Thrones with just stringy hair coming down, like
creepy.
Bald head. And somehow this guy was able to just whip that thing up in a knot on top and look like Conan the Barbarian, and then he puts it down. He looks like a dying wizard. It was amazing. It's so much respect for hiding a bald spot. I think Trump should do it.
I don't know how I'm gonna do things like that as I get older because I'm pretty vain. I like not to be, but I actually care about what I look like. And so like, what are my tricks gonna be? Like, I'll never have a man bun. I'll shave my head probably because I have a beautifully shaved head.
See, mine has a Klingon ridge down the center, and it's got a bunch of knots on it. I've been panicking that I'm losing my hair since I was like 21, and of course it thins naturally over time. But I just saw a picture of myself from 8 years ago, and I have the exact same like recedingness, minus a little more now. But I got so nervous that as a tax write-off for my my LLC, my production company, I bought like a $900 laser rejuvenation helmet that I've never used.
Look at me. I'm stimulating my hair follicles.
I'm going to be sitting there with some stupid space helmet on, shooting infrared lasers into my scalp with no idea if it's going to work. And it's showing up here on Tuesday, and I can't wait to give it a shot.
How stupid. Wait, hold on. That's a recent purchase. That's a now purchase.
No, I bought it in November, and I'm finally shipping it out from my place in Atlanta. It's been sitting there, just a laser helmet being unused.
I might need to use it because I'm actually pretty worried about my hair.
Well, we can all try it, man. We can share the laser helmet.
It's the Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
Okay. This happened to me on my plane ride home. So I've had flight problems. We've chronicled. I had to stay another night in Atlanta, which, by the way, broadcasting morning radio on the West Coast from the East Coast, game changer. Yeah. I've never enjoyed my life more in radio than that day. I rolled into the studio, just had to be there before 9, got there at 8:15, 8:30, right? I woke up, I didn't hate my life. I was like, I just rolled in like a normal person with a normal 9-to-5 job, hung out. It was beautiful. Had lunch afterwards.
I was very jealous.
Oh, it was a game changer. on the way home, I noticed I was in a middle seat on this Delta flight because I had to book the ticket. I just abandoned United altogether.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm booking a brand new direct flight. And I noticed when I was in the middle seat in Coach, way back in Coach, because now they do the thing where they have like, oh, Coach Plus or Comfort.
Right,
Or
yeah.
here's a seat with 2 extra inches of leg room and you get a couple free drinks.
Like I can tell. Thank you.
Exactly. But I'm in like the back coach. Like I'm
with
in
the
like,
people.
yeah, like, 29B. And so my knees are wedged in. I'm between 2 people. And I notice in that moment, I take my hoodie off and to turn my fan on. And I notice I'm not wearing any deodorant.
Yes.
And there's a good chance I was so like hammered off and on during the weekend that I may have not worn deodorant for a couple days in a row. Like I can't guarantee. Like I know I took a shower that morning, but I just used body wash.
That makes it worse sometimes because when you're clean, the sweat comes out a little faster. Or if you don't put the deodorant on, it's a problem.
And my right armpit smelled like normal BO, and my left one smelled like spoiled milk. Like it was almost concerning as to why one smelled different. And then I started getting really into like trying to do like quick sniff comparisons.
Yeah.
Like what? Like it was like doing a sight test where you look one eye and you're like, I can read all the letters, and like, why can't I read them on the other eye? So I was like, what is up with my left armpit? It's got some weird sour milk smell to it.
Did you have this conversation with anyone around you?
No,
or
I
is
just had
this
it
just in your head.
Like most of my conversations that existed internally. I couldn't run it by. Well, one, the guy next to me spoke no English, and the lady next to me on the right just seemed like she wasn't into talking. She had that kind of like
resting bitch face.
Right, kind of like I want to talk to the manager face when she's like at a restaurant or whatever. So I realized like what a terrible place to be in the middle seat on a cross-country flight, and you have like awful BO and you didn't wear deodorant because there's no like it limits all your arm movements like and I have broad shoulders, so now I'm just wedged with my arms down between like clamped into my body because I don't want to like gas this lady out. And I sure don't want to give this guy the sour milk on the left side. So I put on Facebook, where's the worst place you've ever have or could imagine realizing you didn't wear deodorant? Like you walked out of the house and you're like, we've all had those days where you're like, driving to
It's like 3 days a week for me.
Right, you're going to the grocery store and you put one arm up on the steering wheel, like right arm up, and you're like, oh God, there we go. All right. Thank God I'm not going anywhere important.
Yeah.
Those aren't the bad days. It's the days when you got something to do and you have no access to deodorant. Has that ever happened to you? Like one you specifically remember of like, oh God, that's bad.
Literally, the interview for my current job.
Now?
Yes.
Really?
This interview for the job that I have now. I had flown in the night before. The whole interview process was kind of crazy, and I flew in like every week for freaking 10-minute interviews. And so I flew in the night before. I woke up and I took a shower when I went to sleep. I must have sweated in my sleep, but I woke up too late. And so I woke up and I threw my clothes on, and I'm rolling in the rental car over to the station. I'm about to go to lunch, and I was like, this is it. Like, this is that moment. And it smelled terrible to me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. And so that whole time, like, we go to the station, we walk over to this restaurant, and I'm kind of like staying away from people, which is awkward because the whole conversation ended up being about how I might be difficult to work with.
Right. So now
and
you're like,
I'm
this guy like sits like you go to sit at a table for 8 or something, and you're just going to sit on the right side of it, and you just sit on the far end like you're the lord of the castle.
and then when we sit down at this table, which is outside, part of it's in the sun. Which part of it? My part. And so I'm just like sitting there going,
sweating.
Oh man. Like I was like, I can't win this thing.
I always get concerned as how much people can smell that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I can smell it, but I also get concerned that I never want to be someone who stinks and everyone's afraid to tell you, like breath or whatever.
Yeah.
Or because I've asked my girlfriend, I'm flat out like, don't let me become like stinky breath guy who doesn't know it.
Yeah.
Like I'll just eat Tic Tacs like relentlessly all day. So I put it on Facebook, and I want to read some of them because I think they're funny. This one's from Abby Griffith. School awards ceremony in a hot gym, stuffed with lots of people. You have to sit very, very close to all of them, and they all know you. Everybody. Then the one comment underneath was, it's a middle school gym. No one will notice because all the kids smell too. Then I got a group exercise class. I found that out one time. A yoga. I was in downward dog. Realized I didn't have underwear on.
Different conversation.
Yeah, probably.
Realized I didn't wipe that well.
Free balling. Oh boy, that's a gross one. First date at an event with lots of hugging. being at Disneyland in the summertime. This one says, well, every time I forget to wear deodorant when I go to Disneyland, I just pretend that I'm European. It's easy to do that accent. It's not stinky, it's culture.
Brian Moote is a stand-up comedian. Brad Nolan is a stand-up dad. The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
Every time that one plays, I feel like I should talk like this.
Because you're a stand-up dad.
A snooty bitch, too.
Stand-up dad.
At Brad Nolan on Twitter. That's me, Brian. Give your details, please.
I am at Mood Points on Twitter. Let's work on Twitter. We'll work on Twitter.
Okay, we'll stay with Twitter.
Because Twitter, I'm the most, I'll interact with you on Twitter. I feel like all the rest of them, you just kind of like post photos and...
I have the most growth on Instagram, but that's because it was easy to grow from like 100.
Yeah. Sometimes I look back, I don't even know how, when you start any social media, how anybody does have any sort of drive to try to gain followers, because it just seems so sad.
Ego. I
just look back at some of my early tweets and I'm like, who the hell was I talking to? Because no one...
What's the audience?
No one liked these. You know what I mean? Like, I had no... It just... I feel like an old, weird man sitting on a deck just yelling at the heavens.
Although that's not a bad bit for Twitter at this point.
To be like, oh, God damn it! Just sitting there. Like, why are you yelling about NASA so much? I'm like, I don't know, stupid. There's all this money sent into space. Elon Musk, my ass. So before we get into the thing I want to talk to you about this is, I think, something right up your alley, Brad. It's about words you're definitely pronouncing wrong. And I know you're a stickler for that, which I know it's right up your alley. Do you think Tesla's going to make it?
No.
Because it just seems like this...
What do you mean, specifically the car, or are we talking about Elon Musk's companies?
Just the company. It seems like this dude hasn't even mastered the car and is already trying to make like super fast trains and rocket ships that can make multiple trips. I feel like he put he gets bored. Too many projects in motion, and he hasn't mastered any, because I just read this article that their most affordable Tesla is not even getting it's getting a terrible rating from the from consumer advocate or consumer publications that work with cars. They're giving it like a C or D rating for the new the Tesla that's supposed to be the one that the common folk can afford.
Yeah, it's a mere $40,000.
Yeah, that's pocket change, chumps.
No financing available.
I would have loved to be in those meetings and they're like, we're not selling it for under 40. We don't want anyone who can't afford under 40 getting in a Tesla. Damn it.
It will be far too complicated for them to operate.
Price it just outside the poor people's range.
Here's the thing. I can relate to him a little bit, but he's a starter of projects, okay? He's responsible for PayPal?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No.
So he looked at the banking system and said, banking system's broken. Let's fix it. And then, he looked at the car. The whole dealership model was like, cars are broken. They
do it this way. Let's do it different.
Yeah, let's do it different. Way. That's why there's no dealerships. There's no dealerships for Tesla other than the owned boutiques by Tesla.
Oh, and then they just deliver you a car?
Yeah, you can't buy a Tesla on a lot.
You just have to get an app for it?
Yeah, so my point is, he doesn't care if it wins or loses. He already beat the game. So he's just going to move on now to rockets, and then he's going to move on to home batteries and move on to all kinds of other stuff.
Well, I think he should master one thing, because master of too many, master of none.
He's just mastering one thing at a time. But only one part of that one thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Failure.
Yeah, no, I'm going to definitely buy that cheap Tesla. It's the Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan. We have a thing about words, and now I'm excited.
So I got in, my girlfriend has, I would say at this point, almost an irrational anger when somebody says via instead of via.
I'm with her on that.
Right. But it's like irrational. Like she gets so angry when someone says via. And we had a little argument at brunch on Sunday where I was like, well, I don't see why you care. And I can't ever remember which way to say it, so I can't even promise it hasn't come out of my mouth both ways. I'm sure it has. Like probably whoever said it the one way last is probably the way that I remember how to say it.
Exactly.
And we asked Siri in both ways. I was like, Siri, pronounce via. And she's like, via. Like, watch, she'll do it. Let me turn the volume up. Okay, hold on a second. Let me turn the volume up. Hold on. Siri, stop yelling at me. Siri, pronounce via.
Sorry, I couldn't find via in your contacts.
She corrects you. She couldn't find via in the contacts.
That's funny.
So we got in an argument about it, and I was like, all right, I guess it's settled. But I was like, why are you so angry about this? So she found me a list of the 32 most hard words to pronounce that probably drive you crazy.
I am Shakespeare in the flesh.
And there's some that I'll just pick some of the ones that I think like applicable.
Right.
But people say applicable.
No.
Like that's applicable. I know, but people say that all the time.
It's so frustrating when stuff like that happens.
All right, what about I just want to I don't want to screw up the things. I'm just going to show you. Arctic. You got it right, Brad.
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to nail all these.
Yeah, I get all the words right.
Because I thought it was Arctic for a while.
I'm a nerd.
I thought you I thought it was a soft C.
Most people, the reason they pronounce words wrong is because they're it's a lazy thing, right?
Like some are stupid. Like what is it? I just saw the word.
The full version of
espresso versus espresso.
It's supposed to be espresso, right?
Right. But people will say espresso because they're stupid.
I got confused on that one. I was like, uh-oh, am I going to say this wrong? I hope not. On, like, for example, the long version of comfy, you would say?
Comfortable.
Which is wrong. It's comfortable.
Comfortable.
Right.
Yeah, there's an R. But I feel like you can roll. That can become a soft T.
Yeah, just like silent C.
How about people say, like, liable? They'll say libel.
Right, which is just a whole different word.
Right. It's not like
it's completely separate
spelled
word.
Differently. It's not, be held liable for this. Library is another one. People will say library.
Yeah.
A library. It's not library. It's library.
Although we don't say February.
I feel like
we
I
should. We do say that. Yeah, never mind. I'm wrong.
February?
But sometimes people say February.
February. Yeah, they'll say February. Here's some other ones. Often people pronounce the T.
No, you cannot pronounce the T.
Yeah, it's often.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah, the T is silent.
But for some reason, I feel like you're supposed to, like, it's lazy to get rid of those T. How the hell do you know when to have the T and when not to have the T?
I don't know. Get an one
Here's the one that one of the ones that we were really. What about this one, Brad?
Niche.
What?
Niche.
Nope. Niche.
Oh, okay.
It's a niche thing.
Yeah.
But people will say niche. Niche. I know we all know. We say it for the same exact meaning. But it's like niche sounds more fancy.
I'm checking that one off. Niche. That's how I'm going to say it from now on.
Gotcha!
Got me.
One. Okay, let me find some other ones here.
It's like a rousing game of like cue cards.
Regime. People get that one right. Mm-hmm. Oh, how about this one? This is one of my favorites. Little kids screw this one up all the time.
I mean, I don't even know. Okay, you could say sherbet, but I would say sorbet.
You can't say sherbet.
Sherbet?
It's sherbet. There's no second R in there.
Sherbet.
People say sherbet. There's no Bert. It's all bet. It's a sherbet.
It's not sorbet?
Sorbet is on here somewhere. Let's see. Let me find it. I gotta scroll through. Oh, this one was one this one is one right here. Okay. So there's 32 words, and she was scrolling through and just quizzing me on all of them, and I blew it on a bunch of them. How about this one?
I can't see it.
Come on, use that LASIK you got.
Triathlon?
Nope. It's triathlon. Oh. There's no athlon. Because people...
Oh, no, it says triathlon.
Triathlon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like people say triathlon, like athlon, like marathon. Triathlon. It's triathlon. Stop pronouncing it wrong, you dummies.
Here's one really great one that I think even you would appreciate.
All right.
As our resident kind of dummy when it comes to words, I think you would even appreciate.
Oh yeah, I am impressionable in any direction.
I had a friend that I needed to borrow his headphones from one time. He's a roommate, and I said, "Hey man, can I borrow your headphones?" And he said, "It's a rousing story." He said, "Yeah, man, with one caveat."
Wow.
And then whatever. I don't remember anything after that because I was like, oh, it's caveat, and give me your headphones. I was like, the hell
you know what the problem is some words are so hard to not sound like a complete a-hole when you correct someone on. Here's the one right now. This was the one right now, and I know GIF and GIF.
Oh my god.
There is no way, because it looks like it's GIF, but it's a GIF. It's called a GIF.
But why do you say that? Because the founder, right?
Founder says it's GIF. Screw you, buddy. It's GIF. But there's no way for you not to sound like a complete a-hole, and you're like, excuse me, it's actually GIF. Oh, okay, Mr. Guy who Googled the pronunciation like a dick. There's no way you knew that off the top of your head.
The Brian Moote Show with Brad Nolan.
Geico presents Yikes! Another voicemail from your roommate. Sup, roomie? Hey, a pipe burst in the basement. It's completely flooded. Anyway, I called for someone to fix it, but in the meantime, I was thinking we could finally have that indoor pool party we've always wanted. I got some cool swan floaty things already going. Could you pick up some chips on your way home? Later.
The Geico Insurance Agency could help keep your personal property protected, like if your roommate isn't the brightest pool float in the flooded basement. Visit geico.com to see how easy it is to switch and save on renter's insurance.